Hey everybody! Good news! Apparently Avowed is a massive success. Even though seemingly nobody is playing this game, and even though nobody's talking about it, and whenever they are it's not good, and even though the most popular videos going around the internet at the time of its launch were videos either criticizing it or laughing at it in comparison to Skyrim and Oblivion before everyone moved on to play other video games, Avowed was nonetheless a huge win for Xbox and Obsidian. Except it wasn't. Okay, no, we're not going to do a Vsauce impression with this video. I'm not even sure if I can use that song without getting copyright claimed. But yeah, this article from PK Insight claiming that Avowed has reached 6 million players, which was then followed by other outlets spreading it even more widely, like ScreenRant writing their own article, and also some forums posts across the internet saying the exact same thing, was actually made up. I mean, don't get me wrong, that information wasn't exactly pulled out of their ass, however, it was extremely shaky information, super unreliable, as we will discuss later in the video. And that should have been mentioned in these articles, but instead it's not. In fact, the original information wasn't even an estimation of how many players it has, it was presented with a big if. But of course, gaming journalists don't care about giving you the truth, they care about spreading the information that suits them. That's what bothers me so much when it comes to information in this medium, and for that matter in Hollywood as well. Excess media is here to make the companies look good. Culture war nonsense basically stands in the way of objectivity just so that they can score petty points, and Avowed looking good would be a big point to them. And even outside of the culture war, gaming journalism was already not trusted because of it being compromised by excess, so in the end, making companies look good is their top priority. We're going to start by checking out the article first, and I'm sorry in advance, the first part of the video going through the article is going to be a bit boring, but bear with me here and we'll be getting into the good sauce in a bit. I'm going to be using ScreenRant's article because it's the one that took off the most, and it's basically just a copy-paste of PK Insight's article. Seriously, it's almost word for word, with an additional made-up glazing added onto it, saying things that are going to have you questioning reality. And then in the last point of the video, we'll be checking out another article from ScreenRant, somehow praising Avowed over New Vegas, which they linked in this article. Timestamps are going to be in the description and the top comment, so let's get in there. Notice the language that they use throughout this next part. Avowed has reached 5.9 million players since launch, outperforming one of Xbox's hit first-party titles. Avowed, the latest RPG from Obsidian Entertainment, has taken the gaming world by storm, reaching an impressive 5.9 million players in its first month. This milestone places it ahead of Xbox's previously well-received first-party titles, Indiana Jones, which garnered only 4 million players in the same time frame. The numbers highlight Avowed's strong traction, making it one of Xbox's recent successes. According to PK Insight, Mind Game data estimations show that nearly 5.9 million players have taken on the world within Avowed since its launch. While these are just estimations, they do give us a good idea of just how well Avowed is doing, even with negative reviews and hot takes running rampant. So basically, they're not even showing you where the data is coming from and what exactly the data entails, and they're treating this as if it just happened. Like it's done. Avowed has reached 5.9 million players, not may reach nor may have reached, no, straight up reached, and no screenshots from the source either. There's also this stupid idea being perpetrated here that 5.9 million players is something amazing for the Gamepass, which it's not. If it was 5.9 million sales, absolutely that would be amazing, but Gamepass, it's really not. And the source of where this estimation comes from does state that, but of course the gaming journalists, they don't want you to know that, so they take whatever information they want, whatever information suits their narrative, and they move on. I'll be showing you guys the source in the next topic of the video. Let's just get through this part of the article first. I don't know why, but in this same article, in this next part of it, they double down on this idea that 5.9 million players is this incredible achievement, and they even increase it up to 6 million. They even call it 6 million now, which was what the thumbnail showed on their social media links. Check it out. Avowed Avowed is gaining massive traction, reaching milestones and surpassing Indiana Jones. Avowed's player count soars beyond expectations. The data compilation considered Gamepass users, Steam concurrent players, search volume, and other relevant metrics. While these are not official figures, they provide a solid indication of Avowed's success in drawing a massive audience. Then in this last paragraph, they theorize that despite Indiana Jones having a slightly higher metascore, Avowed is way ahead of it, and it must be because Avowed has a broader appeal as an action RPG, despite the fact that this game has been getting roasted because of qualifying itself as an RPG, since it's so depthless, so insanely shallow, not just in classic RPG options, but also in its dull, lifeless cardboard world where NPCs don't even exist. They just stand there without moving, with no interactions with the world itself, and even less with the player. That's why they don't exist. They may as well be cardboard cutouts. It also says that it has more appeal since it's available on multiple platforms. Did these morons forget that both Avowed and Indiana Jones released on the same platforms? It's Xbox and PC for both of these games. Well, what are they talking about? Also, Xbox confirmed that Indiana Jones got 4 million players on Game Pass, and it was considered an underperformance. If 4 million is not enough, how do these morons consider 5.9 million players a massive success, soaring beyond expectations? I mean, I guess it could be accurate if you expect it to be in the shit. Anyway, they continue with the Avowed glazing. Avowed's combination of deep lore, engaging combat mechanics, and expansive world building has drawn comparisons to Obsidian's previous critically acclaimed RPGs. Many fans have praised its immersive storytelling. What the fuck does that even mean? And player choice driven gameplay. What? Solidifying it as a standout title in the genre. Dude, what are you talking about? This paragraph alone shows that they didn't touch this game, and more than that, it shows how biased the article is by not even bothering to mention all the viral videos exposing this game's shallowness, all of the criticism, trying to appeal to Obsidian to please never do this again. This is the weakest game Obsidian has ever put out. It's incomparable to its previous RPGs. It even pales in comparison to the Outer Worlds when it comes to their work on the actual world and interaction, at least. If you're interested in more details, you can check out my video here on Avowed, link in the top comment. The statement alone that this solidifies it as a standout title in the genre when Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 literally just came out a few weeks ago is insane. No, literally, it is insane. If Avowed was oh my god. If Avowed was a standout title in the genre, this genre would be fucked. It would be fucked, fellas. Like when you actually stop to read the words that these people are writing, it's a goldmine. The only thing that saves Avowed from being a total disaster is it being set on the Pillars of Eternity world, a world with already 2 games worth of lore and events enriching its history and characters. The article then triples down on the lying and claims that even with Avowed being on Xbox Game Pass, Steam sales are skyrocketing.
You serious?
Mentioning the peak player count of nearly 20,000 as if that was worth a shit for a major AAA action RPG release from Xbox Game Studios. Says right there, demonstrating its strong appeal, underlined with a link. I fucking clicked the link thinking, well, this must lead to some information that is escaping all of us mortals and that shows precisely why 20,000 concurrent players is suddenly enough for a AAA game to thrive. The link leads to this article. Avowed succeeds in one way Fallout New Vegas failed. So basically, it has nothing to do with the fucking claim that the statement is making, and don't you worry, we'll be getting back to this article in a bit in the last topic of the video. Let's just get done with this one first and show the source for these numbers. Additionally, they say, Avowed's ability to perform well on Steam despite its availability on Game Pass is a testament to its replay value and compelling content. Many players are choosing to purchase the game outright, indicating strong consumer confidence in Obsidian's ability to deliver a rich RPG experience. What in the fuck are you... Okay, you know what, guys? I'm going to take a chill pill, I'm going to have some water, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to breathe in the morning air, and then we'll get back to the video. Okay fellas, are we in the fucking Matrix? Did one of you pricks take the red pill and are now flying around blowing holes into the simulation or something? If you are, please stop it. Either wake me straight up or let me look at the lady in the red dress in peace. Let me enjoy the savory burger. You know what I mean? Because this is insane. This isn't even revisionism. Like, this is, revisionism is screwed up because it's usually something that happened years ago. And so you can twist and mangle things and maybe convince people that they're misremembering something. But this just happened last month. This game came out literally 1 month ago. This game's sales are a disgrace. The Outer Worlds managed to pull in more of them when it launched on Steam in 2020 after cucking players out of it by launching exclusively on the Epic Store. And this was a AA game published by a small publisher. Avowed, in the meantime, is a brand spanking new supposed RPG from Xbox Game Studios, a first-party game highly anticipated as it was meant to be Obsidian's take on the Elder Scrolls, in a world where Bethesda is so far removed from their last Elder Scrolls and their next Elder Scrolls that we Elder Scrolls players are basically foaming at the mouth for. And it was a game with a relatively solid amount of excitement going behind it until the moment that its art director, Matt Hansen, decided to open his unhinged mouth back in December and personally kill off any momentum the game had gained by crashing out in public, insulting people, turning away fans saying that they just wanted to play a game, and exposing himself as a racist, and also potentially putting the company in trouble for discriminatory hiring based on race, prompting even Chris Avellone himself to speak out and encourage anyone that has been denied a position at Obsidian to look into if they were denied the position because they weren't the right fit or if they were denied the position because they weren't the right color. Matt Hansen also described the game as a product of the woke mind virus and said that he couldn't wait for us to see the default in relation to complaints about the game featuring pronoun selection and display nonsense despite being set in a fantasy land far, far away in Mushroom Land. Because of course, nothing takes us far away into a world of fantasy and immersion better than some contentious contemporary identity politics bullshit in the video game. All of this mess obviously caused people to ask for some accountability from the company, or at the very least from Matt Hansen, an apology of some kind. And Obsidian's response to all of this only made the situation worse for themselves, because they started banning people from their forums for simply asking questions or for some damn accountability. Let's just be real, not even hitting 20,000 concurrent players on Steam and then having those drop extremely fast is a fucking disgrace. This isn't some darling indie game that doesn't need a lot of sales to succeed. This is a big title made with Microsoft money.
If this is you, you better lower your motherfucking tone when you talking to me.
And it gets much worse than that. This is the actual source behind that 5.9 million player number. They basically take Indiana Jones, which they had solid data for because Microsoft themselves revealed that it got 4 million players in its first month. They cross-reference it with data related to it here on this image: Google search volume, streaming volume, social media trends, YouTube video engagement, and Steam peak player numbers. Then, for Avowed and Black Ops 6, they don't actually have the solid player numbers from Microsoft, but what they have is the other data from Google searches, YouTube, Steam, etc. So they collect that data and estimate how many Game Pass players they may actually have had. And I don't think that this is a really good measure for this at all, and this is because a lot of people engage on social media and streams and YouTube videos without being actually positive, know what I mean? Take for example those videos comparing the game to Skyrim and Oblivion. These are videos that aren't going to do the game any good, much by the contrary actually. They did damage to it because they showed people how the game plays like something that isn't even finished, like something that can't even compete with the standards laid out all the way back in 2006 already in the case of Oblivion. Similarly, you can take Asmongold's videos. He covered this game and the first video was actually somewhat positive as he played it and didn't think it was that bad. Then he watched the videos comparing it to Skyrim and Oblivion and realized how wrong he was because he's just out of his depth when it comes to these kinds of games. He spent too much time time playing World of Warcraft and shit like that for thousands of hours, while the industry basically evolved and began regressing. So now he basically grabs any recent game, plays it, and he goes, "Hey guys, you know what? This is actually not even that bad. I thought this was gonna be much worse. Yeah, no, like, yeah, people online, you know, they're being way too harsh. I mean, look at this. It's not that bad. I mean, it's not really that good either, you know what I mean, guys? It's just a game, you know? I'm playing it, you know, I'm having a little bit of fun. It's not that bad, you know, it works. You know, I don't know. It's like, I'm having an okay time, you know, guys? It's like a 7, you know? It's like a 7. It's not even a question." Not realizing how bland the games actually may be by not having that frame of reference, which is fine, you know, I can actually relate to that a lot. I spent many years just playing Counter-Strike and other shooters.
Homie, I tried to sneak through the door, man. Can't make it, the shit's stuck. Out of my way, son! Door stuck! Door stuck!
While letting a bunch of fantastic releases pass me by, sometimes because I couldn't afford them, and other times simply because I would rather play shooters with my school buddies, until I snapped out of it one day and began playing way more games across way different genres, including some older games that passed me by. I think it was Red Dead Redemption that snapped me out of it. I played Red Dead Redemption in 2010, I kinda just bought it out of impulse, and then I played the game and I was astonished. I was like, holy fuck, video games can do this? Then in 2011 I played L.A. Noire immediately at launch and I was like, holy shit. And then in 2012 I played Skyrim and I'm like, dude, I need to play more video games. And so I started playing more video games. So I like totally relate to this situation, like I get it. And it's not really a problem at all. The point is that these videos they got millions of views and they didn't go to help out Avowed. By these metrics, for example, Dragon Age Veilguard would be deemed by this mindshare stuff to be a wild success with dozens of millions of players. Because when it comes to these numbers, Veilguard had way bigger search volume than Avowed, way more videos being made talking about it, criticizing it, mocking it and its characters, talking about drama surrounding it, something that Avowed also has thanks to Matt Hansen, and of course much more social media movement thanks to all of these situations. And its player count peak on Steam was around 80,000, so way more than Avowed as well. So this mindshare stuff would literally be looking at Dragon Age and estimating an insane number of players, way higher than Avowed at the very least, when in reality Dragon Age got 1.5 million players as reported by EA themselves. It was a tremendous flop. So how can a game with far more of this mindshare stuff than Avowed and even Indiana Jones manage to score even less players than both of them? In theory, it just doesn't add up at all. This was just a random little estimation thing that these journalists took and ran with as a statement of fact. But the thing is, even if it did add up, even if this number estimation was correct, the mindshare thing shared more data that neither of these useless outlets bothered to show us, because of course they didn't, it's not convenient. Quote, "Is 5.9 million enough? Evaluating Avowed's Game Pass impact." If Avowed didn't have a meaningful increase in Game Pass subscriptions or long-term retention, its 80 to 120 million budget becomes difficult to justify. Unlike a full-price game, it cannot rely on direct sales to recover costs. I mean, technically it can, because it is on sale, it's just that people don't want to buy it. But anyway, let's continue reading. If Avowed helped retain existing subscribers, Microsoft may consider it a win as a retention tool, even if it didn't attract a massive new audience. If engagement drops quickly, Avowed may be seen as another underwhelming Game Pass title similar to Indiana Jones, which had 4 million players and failed to meet expectations. Without strong retention, 5.9 million players may not be enough to justify the investment, but if Avowed sustains engagement through strong word of mouth, DLC and an eventual PlayStation release, it could still be a success and shape the future of Xbox RPG strategy. End quote. So basically this number, even if accurate, doesn't really mean much when it comes to the Game Pass. Game Pass is really nice on the surface for individuals looking to play a wide array of games, but the higher the price of the subscription goes and the more quality of the games fall, the less worth worth it becomes. Sales are what make this industry go around, and for Game Pass it's games that are so good that they can sell subscriptions and keep people subscribed, which usually isn't even something a lone game can do. Usually you need a consistent flow of solid releases to get people to subscribe and stay subscribed for long. And Avowed is just not that kind of game. So basically, even if people subscribed back in November because of Stalker 2, they had absolutely no reason to stay subscribed for Avowed. And neither is Xbox's next game, South of Midnight, which is also worked on by activists that hate gamers and made a big mess online. Plus, Avowed has incredibly low engagement, as I will show you in a second. Even without the data though, you can just play it and see for yourself. It's a sad game. You don't even need to play it, just watch a YouTube video. It's the best I can describe it in one word, and games journalists making articles like these lying to people, both to us as consumers as well as to potential investors keeping their eyes on games media to know how their investments are going, it helps nobody. This doesn't help anybody. The truth will come out anyway, and it's not even a hard thing to do. All someone has to do is play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 for a few hours and see the stark difference between both of these February games, and then also realize that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was developed with just around $40 million. Or hell, just compare it to Skyrim and Oblivion, games in the same genre and style, made with far better quality, less staff, and less money as well. It's unacceptable for this to become the standard for Xbox RPGs going forward. It's the most retarded thing that could ever come to pass. Imagine buying all of these RPG making studios like Obsidian, In Exile, and Bethesda, and then turn them into slop makers with a one-way ticket to bankruptcy. Now please get your helmets on, boys. We are going to take a look at Avowed's terrible retention. This stuff comes straight out of Xbox, where these supposed 6 million ghosts are playing the game. I went snooping on the achievements list, and this is what I got. Sorry in advance, by the way, some of it is in Portuguese, but here we go. Of all the people who actually engaged with this game, 40% of them straight up just got the fuck out of there before even finishing the tutorial.
Holy shit!
Again, that's nearly half of the player base dipping before they even made it to the start of the game, and this isn't some wild tutorial like Dark Souls' entire Asylum region, nor a crazy long tutorial like Kingdom Come Deliverance. This is just a little level on a fort. You land on the beach, you pick up a weapon, kill a few lizards, move into the fort, release, or not, a prisoner, go back outside, kill some more lizards, find a crazy soldier, fight him, and then you run to a boat and voila, you can speed through it in a few minutes. But anyway, then there was a huge dip in player numbers by the end of the first chapter in the first area, where only 28% of players finished it and moved on to the second area of the game. And this is a very short chapter if you rush the story, and that's what people have been doing in this game. Most people have been rushing everything, because if you look at the achievements, there's barely anyone killing spiders and beetles, there's barely anyone doing backstabs, there's barely anyone doing parries. In fact, the parry situation is fucked up. Only like 3% of people are doing parries. I don't even know how the fuck people are playing this game. Like, I don't know how they're engaging with the combat and the mechanics, or the content in general. Like I said, people are just rushing through this game, and that's why when you see such a huge dip where only 28% of people have finished the first chapter and moved on to the second area, it's nuts. Because again, this is a really short chapter. You go into the woods and you fight a bear. Then you go into the city, and when you enter the city you get shot with an arrow, so then you kind of die. Then you wake back up and you go get a dwarf to look for clues of your assassin on top of a building, which leads you into the rich part of the city, where you go to a mansion of a deceased mayor looking for clues. You get a clue to go to the church nearby, and then in the church you go underground and your assassin is there. You confront him, get this achievement, talk to one guy, and then you leave and go to the second area of the game. You can get done with this in a couple of hours, and yet by now 72% of players have already dropped out of the game. That's the majority. Then in chapter 2 of the game, in the second area, sees yet another drop in players, where only 16% of players actually finished this and moved on to the third area. This chapter 2 takes place in Fior Mezziverno, in Emerald Stair. It's a bit bigger than chapter 1, but yeah, it's been a month since launch. I've been completing every quest and exploring every nook and cranny of this game, while also working and making seeing these videos. So if I made it to the 4th area already, at the very least everyone else should have already made it here too. In fact, normal people playing the game after school or after work should have already finished it by now. But instead, 84% of players have already quit the game before even managing to get through half of it. Next up is the endpoint of part 3 in the 3rd area. Only 9.87% of players made it through. We can round it up to 10%. So that's 10% of people who are actually invested in seeing the game through out of all of those players. 90% of players dropped this game like it was nothing. This is abysmal engagement. This isn't selling any Gamepass subscriptions, and just shows that people didn't even have that much interest in this game to begin with. Certainly not enough interest to buy it at full price, and not even enough interest to just play it, to just finish it, you know what I mean? If you're not finishing a game, that means that the game is not engaging. If the game is not engaging, that means that the game is not good to sell Game Pass copies and to keep people playing through Game Pass. People are not going to have a reason to stay subscribed because of this game, and people are not going to have a reason to subscribe for more games like this. Even if we were to take that 6 million number as a real serious thing, it would be reduced to 600,000 players, and that's it. Imagine a AAA game only getting 600,000 sales. It's fucking cooked. They gave it a shot on Game Pass because it was available, and that was that. Then, nearly half of them drop it before they even finish the tutorial. Then the majority of them drop it before even seeing the 2nd area of the game, which is just a few hours into it. And then the vast majority of them drop it before the halfway point of the game and making it into the 3rd area. And now there's barely any of us left playing it on the 4th area of the game. I believe the 4th area is the last one, then there may be another place that we go to finish the game, but I think that this 4th area is the last open area in the game. And yeah man, it's just me and the rest of the 9.87% who are in here actually engaging with this content. Anyone saying that this is a huge success on Game Pass is absolutely delusional. Not only is that estimation unrealistic, but one look at the achievements and we can see how bad the engagement is, which I can't even blame people for, of course. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I'm making this video and I'm talking about this, but I do understand why people drop the game. It's not about making fun of them for dropping the game. I understand. If I wasn't doing this for the channel, I wouldn't be playing the game either. I would have moved on to something else that actually is enjoyable. The game is not terrible, but it does nothing to immerse players. It does nothing to push you towards exploring its world. There's nothing to truly interact with, and the side quests are really bad. There's literally no reason at all to pick Avowed over any other game that's been coming out recently. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Yakuza Pirates in Hawaii, Monster Hunter Wilds, Dynasty Warriors Origins. You're better off with any of these games, or even with older games. Like, you're better off playing Skyrim, you're better off playing Oblivion, you're better off literally anything. You can just pick anything. Like, I've been playing this right now, Middle-earth Shadow of War. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I've been replaying it, I've played it before, and I also been playing a little bit of Rise of the Ronin, which also released on Steam just now in the past few days. It genuinely does not surprise me that people have been dropping out of this game like flies. What surprises me is the copium surrounding this game, and I'm sorry for using that word. I know some of you don't like it, but it's the word for this. It really is. There's no other word that fits this situation better. I don't understand what is going on. I don't understand the investment in wanting to see this game seen as a success. I really don't. This game, I just don't get it. I don't understand. I can understand for Veilguard, like that was a big one. They really wanted that game to win. And it was Dragon Age, right? So it has that big name behind it. But Avowed? It's like they're grasping at straws at this point. So initially I was going to end the video there, but then I saw that link to this article and I just had to read it, and then when I read it I had to respond to it because holy crap. Usually the retardation of game journalism doesn't run this deep. Like, yeah, sure, they may suck at video games, and sure, they may have weird hot takes, and they may lie about stories to make specific companies or games that they dislike fail, like when this very outlet right here, ScreenRant, gave Black Myth Wukong a 6 out of 10 because apparently there was an abysmal lack of diversity and inclusion in a game where you play as the Monkey King of Chinese mythology, roaming through a world filled with other sorts of animal creatures, but whatever. Or the opposite, where they lie and misrepresent reality to defend games or companies that they want to see succeeding, like with Avowed here. But this article, like holy shit man, it really shows the state of this medium and why it's in decay. It shows what it has denigrated itself into. I really don't understand how people get paid for this anymore. Let's read. Avowed succeeds in one way Fallout New Vegas failed. What the fuck is he talking about? I'm already cracking up over here. I can't even read this shit. So what he means is that both in Avowed and New Vegas, your character gets sort of killed. In New Vegas, it's right in the intro of the game, and in Avowed, it's as soon as you enter the first city after the tutorial. And this journalist dude over here thinks that Avowed did a much better job of making the character who tries to kill you sympathetic, something he never thought of New Vegas's Benny. When you're killed at the start of New Vegas, it's a bit of a mystery as to why. You don't learn until later on why Benny wanted the platinum chip from you, and by that time, you've probably had a while to stew about his attempted murder. In contrast, I never questioned why someone would want to kill the envoy in Avowed. So we're already off to a really bad start because it's pretty obvious why it happens actually. Before you've even arrived to the city, it is already made clear to you that Paradise does not like Adir, the empire that you're from. There's a Paradisian smuggler in the tutorial level of the game, and she makes that very clear. Then, when you arrive, it is once again made very clear to you before you step out of the docks by a captain and by Kai, your first companion. And if you explore a little bit before heading to the city, you will find no shortage of this kind of sentiment. In fact, I have written this down as a note in my notepad for the review of the game because it was one of the most annoying things in the game when it came to presentation. The game shoves this down your throat time and time again, but it does a terrible job at presenting it. Basically, the game is trying to convince you that your empire is evil and oppressive over and over again, but at the same time it's presenting you with an utterly broken and lawless city as an alternative, where murder is normal and where people live in misery anyway. It's just that instead of answering to an empire, they answer to criminal gangs of smugglers and thugs. Basically, it's the Wild West where the strongest rules. When you present a world like this, you can't really create any sympathy for the people living there, nor can you convince your player that the empire that their character is from is the bad guy, and that we should be against it. All that I see this empire do is bring law and order to a savage land where people are miserable under gang-ruled chaos. The only side of the empire that is overtly bad is the Steel Garrote, which is an order of zealots led by a Death Guard woman who went rogue and isn't answering nor acting in the name of the empire anymore. Part of this information, the most important part at least, is already shown to you as you arrive in Paradise. People don't like the Empire of Adir, they don't like the Ambassador, they don't like the guards, they don't like the Empire in concept because, and this is verbatim from the characters in the game, Paradise is the place where people escaping the Empire went to in order to live freely. Think of like Nassau in real life, for example, and how it was a haven for pirates escaping the British Empire and other authoritative bodies of the time. You are an envoy from the Emperor, therefore obviously people are not going to like you. This is something that is hammered in your head, and even to the point where it's like emotional manipulation through the scenes and the lines of dialogue. But that sadly clash with the reality that is being presented to us, which is just a shitty place anyway that used to have thieves and thugs running around freely. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like they want us to think that Adir is the bad guy. They are bad, they are oppressors, they came into a perfectly fine and innocent place that didn't need them, and they started making trouble with the locals and moving people out of the city and into the slums and blah 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 blah, but in reality, it's just a shithole that nobody would have wanted to fucking live in. If you can't relate to this sort of thing in Avowed because of not having played it, maybe you can relate with it in regards to The Last of Us 2, where the director and the writers wanted us so much to feel bad for Abby, to relate to Abby and all of her little survivors, all the people that we were slaughtering as Ellie, so that we would feel bad for our actions and relate to them and like Abby and these fucking pricks. It didn't work. At least it didn't work with me. And it felt very awkward to feel that pressure from the director and the writers trying to force me to relate to them and like them by making me feel bad, like, look player, look what you've done, look what you have done player, look at everyone you have been killing, they are so nice people, look, they have a doggy and everything, how could you have done this player, how could you have killed all these people player, how could you have killed the dog as well player, you are a monster, Ellie is so bad, such a bad person, and so is Joel is so bad, Joel is very bad person, Ellie very bad person, everybody so bad, what a disaster player, what have you done? Some of them were even pregnant player, how could you do this to pregnant women player, oh my goodness. And meanwhile I'm just sitting over there like, what the fuck is going on? But at the same time, I don't blame this journal for not thinking about this, because this first chapter, as I said earlier, is very short and can be finished very fast. But the issue is that it doesn't even acknowledge this in the article, which is very disingenuous. He acts as if both Avowed and New Vegas do the exact same thing, where you have an assassin taking you out early in the game and then you go investigate clues to find him, but it's total nonsense. In New Vegas, you go to several areas and quests before you ever get to Benny. You actually ask around and deal with a lot of people on your way to Vegas, and even when you get to Vegas, you're still stuck in Freeside before you can actually get a pass to enter the strip. In Avowed, you can find the dipshit in 1 hour, 2 hours max if you're digging around. There is hardly any investigation to be done, the assassin doesn't really matter at all. That's really the point here. The assassin and Benny are two completely different types of characters, and you don't go through any journey trying to find him, you just find him, he's just there. He's just some asshole who tried to kill you, that's it. And his reason for placing Avowed above New Vegas here is the most retarded thing I've ever read. Avowed's assassin has understandable motives. Eagwolf believes the envoy will bring death and destruction. This next section says that Eagwolf has a reason because he read a prophecy that a godlike would arrive in Paradise and bring death and destruction to the island. So he set out to kill the envoy as soon as he entered the city. Then, when you come back to life, Eagwolf has a crisis of faith and doesn't know what to believe in anymore, because if the gods themselves brought you back to life, then they must have a plan for you, and so his prophecy may be wrong. That's it. Or rather, that's it plus the underlying situation with the Empire and the rebels fighting each other, because there's an ongoing civil war in the city between Eagwolf's rebels and the Empire. Now let's see what he has to say about Benny. Eagwolf's understandable motivations and noble intentions make him a sympathetic character, even if he tries to kill you. The same can't be said for Benny, who doesn't have as understandable of a position. While Benny has his reasons to do what he did, they aren't nearly as sympathetic as Eagwolf's proved to be. Benny was never as sympathetic as Eagwolf. Benny is much more selfish than Eagwolf and much less repentant. It's so weird to see Benny's name next to Eagwolf, like, my guy, nobody gives a shit about Eagwolf. This isn't even a memorable character in its own game. This is not comparable at all, and yet here we are. And he's not even right in what he's saying. The whole fucking thing that he just said is wrong. His reasons are not understandable, and he is not repentant at all, as I will show you in a second. This is just another case of that dissonance between what Obsidian says, what they want you to believe, and what they present to you in the actual game. And beyond that, this guy doesn't realize that some villains are just villains. This dude is literally handing points to Avowed over New Vegas because Benny is a character that did a bad thing for no good reason, whereas Eagwolf, oh, big W to Eagwolf. Now this is an assassin character because he had motives, because the Empire of Adir is bad, and he had a prophecy about a godlike, and so of course it's understandable that he would kill us for no reason whatsoever instead of talking to us first. And look, afterwards he was even regretful of what he did. He regretted his action and didn't want to harm the envoy again. Now this is a character that I can relate with and feel bad for. Meanwhile, if you look around the city of Paradise, you can come across dead fucking adherents killed by these rebels. In fact, they mount an ambush on you in an alleyway in the city. There's dead guards on the floor and bastards hiding around luring you into that alleyway. If you go in, they attack you. If Igwolf truly regretted his actions, if he was truly noble and repentant, then why is he having his people ambush you in the middle of the street? Also, so much for regretting it and not wanting us dead and wanting to talk to us instead now, when you have to go through dozens of rebels on your way to Igwolf. Why not tell them to stand down and have a chat with us first? If he's so repentant, if he's so regretful, why doesn't he just tell his people to stand down, let us walk in, then we can talk to him and we can decide what to do, and then if we decide to attack him, we would have to fight our way out instead of having to fight our way in, showing that these rebels aren't at all noble and showing that Igwolf is not at all repentant of anything. Like, what the fuck is this that he wrote here? Igwolf's understandable motivations and noble intentions make him sympathetic. What fucking noble intentions? They attack you on sight no matter what happens, and then we have to cleave through dozens of them to get to Igwolf and have a conversation with him. It doesn't even make sense that we actually get to Igwolf and have a calm conversation with him. Like, he's ready to make peace despite the fact that we just killed like 50 rebels with families and friends and children and shit. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here, brother? What planet is this? What dimension are we on, bro? Who's fucking with the Matrix? Did you guys are fucking with the Matrix. I know it's one of you. I know it's one of my fucking subscribers. One of you pricks took the fucking red pill. You're blowing holes in the simulation, and I don't like it. You guys gotta snap me out of this shit. Wake me up from the machine. I don't like this halfway in, halfway out shit. Either wake me up or let me go to sleep. Like, let me put this even further into perspective for you guys, because I don't think you guys get the scope of all of this quite yet. There's an event in front of the gates where our character gets shot, where a guard has a cart stopped in the middle of the road and is questioning a random woman. If you walk by, the guard asks for your help to search her cart for any illegal smuggled items. And if you do that, you can find grenades in her cart, and you can choose to report her and get her arrested, or to lie and let her go. If you lie and let her go, it is revealed that she is a rebel later in the game. These people are carrying bombs into the fucking city, and I'm supposed to believe that they're wonderful freedom fighters or something with understandable motivations and noble intentions. Leave it to a fucking game journalist to think that someone justifying murder and bombings because they can't be the strongest gang in the city anymore is somehow noble and sympathetic. Jesus Christ. And leave it to a game journalist to try and find a reason to write an article placing Avowed above New Vegas because of character motivations. Avowed offers a much more nuanced decision when it comes to handling your would-be killer. Igwolf's sympathetic nature ultimately adds a little more nuance to the story of Avowed, and I would always have liked to see something similar with Benny in New Vegas. Igwolf is a nobody, and there is no nuance whatsoever to him or the rebels and their relationship with the Empire. This isn't even the main focal point of the story. The main focal point of the story is that there's a god in this island that nobody ever knew existed. It's a god that other gods are against. Something way in the past happened. It touches on an old ancient war that was had between the people that used to live there, their god, and then all of these other gods. And then more presently, there is a plague that is related to this god that is ravaging the land. That's it. Nobody gives a shit about Igwolf. Jesus Christ. I didn't even remember his name. It's a stupidly written situation where we're meant to feel bad for the supposed oppressive occupation of Paradise by the Empire, but before the Empire arrived, it was a shithole with no law and order, where the ones in power were the ones who were the strongest. And it's actually laughable how, for example, various characters complain that one of the big bad things that the Empire brought over to Paradise was basically like, I don't know the name in English, it's basically import and export control, where they check every bit of cargo that gets brought in and out of Paradise in ships, and if any illegal items are found, they confiscate them, and also, of course, they tax the goods that come in and out. This is a common complaint that is brought up by several people in the game. Basically, some goods have become more expensive because of being taxed, and some other goods don't even make it because they get confiscated. Meanwhile, in one of the side quests in the game, a courtesan asks you to go down to the docks and get her a shipment of herbs because it's being accosted by a fucking gang. So take away the goddamn empire and the issue remains the same. We still have people having to smuggle shit into the city and gangs holding up cargo to extort the people in the city. Like, this is a joke. They try so hard to give you that image that, oh, the bad empire, everything was perfect, and then the empire arrived and fucked everything up. But as the player, looking at the game and what's being presented to me, I don't see the issue. I don't see the reason for rebels to kill people and smuggle in bombs, especially to try and shoot the envoy as soon as he arrives, and complaining about all of these imports and exports when they already had the same problem with gangs. There's nothing noble about this fight, it's dogshit writing. Benny is not. He's just a scumfuck trying to get ahead and willing to go over anyone's head, willing to stab anyone's back and willing to kill anyone that is in his way to not leave any loose ends, especially when it comes to matters related to the platinum chip. He is a very consistent character and he matches with the world around him. He's a simple man that makes sense within his own universe and story. Eagwolf is a poorly written edgelord who is supposed to be an assassin, a zealot, and a noble freedom fighter all at once in a game where the writers are trying so bad to make you go against the empire you're a part of, to the point where the good decision when the cart gets stopped is to let a random bitch smuggle bombs into the city instead of being the big bad oppressive figure of authority that confiscates them and puts the nutcase in jail. Avowed truly is the perfect game for game journalists. Shit writing, cheap emotionally manipulative tropes, lots of saturated colorful particle effects, big yellow damage numbers popping up on screen, zero RPG depth because of course we can't have things be too complicated or have too many systems overwhelming them, and of course spoon-fed character and plot details so that they don't have to think for themselves or get uncomfortable with a bad character just being a bad character in a bad world because they're bad. Anyway, that's it from me on this one. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, dislike it if you didn't, and subscribe to not miss out on any future uploads. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care of yourselves.